Gaming Phone, Part 2. Hey, what is up guys, I'm MKBHD here, and this is ASUS's ROG Gaming Phone. ROG, for those who don't know, is ASUS's Republic of Gamers division. They make gaming stuff, now they're making a phone. So you might remember last year we had that Razer phone, and that was maybe the first true gaming phone as far as the way it was built and the features it had. But then it was silent for a while, and maybe we're expecting the second gen of that to come up soon. But a couple weeks ago we got this, maybe the second ever true gaming phone, and now it's here in the studio. This phone has so many features, it's ridiculous. And pretty much every single one of them is geared in some way towards gaming on your phone, which, like I've said before, makes for a great media experience. So even if this isn't a phone that you and I would buy and use every single day, it's still interesting to see this much effort put into a compelling, interesting new smartphone. Basically, this one's for all of you guys complaining that every single new phone looks the same. So first, let's of course start with this sick design. It's a lot. It's a huge phone, obviously, about 9 millimeters thick and actually pretty heavy. This thing is really dense. There's a lot of metal, a lot of heft. And then this color is a mostly dark silver sort of titanium look, but depending on how light hits it, sometimes it has this rainbow sheen to it. And then it has these lines that look like antenna bands, but aren't really. They came up with this camera cutout and this trapezoidal flash cutout and the fingerprint reader on the back. All of this stuff is very geometric. Big ASUS ROG logo in the middle. And then coming in from the side is essentially this heat sink. It's a copper heat spreader and carbon cooling pads underneath this cover with more engraved lines. It's supposed to look pretty serious. Again, people have had all these complaints that every new phone looks the same with the same notch and the same glass back. This one definitely does not look the same as the others. And then something else you might have noticed by now, there's some extra ports. What's the deal with these? So okay, you've got your headphone jack at the bottom with your normal USB-C port for charging and data, everything you'd expect. But also then on the side, they've included 2 more USB-C ports for charging and accessories. And this is slightly early hardware, so it's not fully painted on the inside yet, but these ports are specifically to be able to get you power from the side so you don't have to worry about the cable getting in the way when you're gaming and plugged in. Now, of course, it only requires 1 port, but it has a second port for a bunch of accessories that we'll talk about later. But basically, this thing is so different on the outside. Not everyone's gonna love it. Some people have said, I tweeted a photo of it, they said it looked ugly. A lot of people think it looks really cool. It is IPX5 and IPX7 certified, so it's splash proof, water resistant. It's just a really different looking phone. I think maybe the fingerprint reader is not the ideal shape. It's a little wide for a finger. And to be honest, the buttons are also not very good. The volume and power buttons, I'd want to be clicky and tactile, but this is not what those are. They're a little mushy. But overall, it's clearly trying to look badass and gamer ready, and it is. It even says aerodynamic system on the side. It's not a jet wing. Anyway, I think that's hilarious. What else? The specs, yeah, top notch, of course, as you'd expect. Snapdragon 845, apparently the best binned 845s too, according to ASUS. 8 gigabytes of RAM, 4,000 milliamp hour battery with fast charging, all of these things great for gaming. And then up front, a 6-inch 2160 by 1080 OLED display with a high refresh rate of 90 hertz and a 1 millisecond response time. So yeah, that would be the first time I've ever seen a refresh rate over 60 hertz on an OLED in a phone. It's something I've been asking for since we got that 120 hertz LCD on the Razer phone. Now, I'm only a bit down on this because aside from the fact that it is a high refresh rate OLED, it's not actually that great of an OLED panel. I love the high refresh rate and it kind of feels like it's spoiling me all the time, but it doesn't get that bright or that dim. The colors aren't as vibrant as I expected, even though you can adjust them in the settings. And then there's this mean off-axis color shift to magenta, which normally isn't a big deal for me, but when you're gaming, you sometimes move the screen around a lot and notice it, and this one's bad. So a little bit of a trade-off with the display, but I can say it does have me excited. Before this came out, I didn't know if you could get high refresh rate OLED displays in smartphones. Now that I know you can do that, this has me pumped for the quality we're probably going to get out of the next generation of high refresh rate OLED displays in gaming phones of the future. So anyway, now that you've seen the full design and you've understood what this phone is all about, this would probably seem like a pretty complete phone already if it was just running stock Android. But of course it's not. It's an ASUS phone and it's got a skin, and this thing has a lot, like a ton of features. I'm not even gonna try to go over all of them. It's just an impressions of me using it for the first time, but get a load of all of this. So this ROG phone has face unlock and it's lightning fast, easily as fast as the OnePlus 6 we were all raving about a couple months ago, pretty much instant. It has fingerprint gestures, so you can swipe down on the fingerprint reader or up on the back to open and close the notification tray. The stereo front-facing speakers are independently amplified and they sound massive. They're easily top 3 best, loudest sounding speakers I've heard in a phone, and you'd want it to be that good while gaming, of course. There's also an outdoor mode, which is the same loud volume but emphasizes the frequencies of vocals, so voices are much easier to hear. There's also all these motion controls which let you double tap to wake and sleep, and flip over to mute, and lift up to automatically answer phone calls. And then all these gestures and things you can draw on the screen while it's off to open certain apps. So you can draw a C while it's asleep to launch the camera app right away. And there's also something in the settings called Zen Emoji. I'm not even gonna open that or try that, but there's all these AI features for certain things, like suggesting the most useful apps to open at certain times, keeping your battery plugged in and protected at about 80% until right around when it thinks you're waking up, then it juices up to 100, things like that. There's a lot of features here. Oh, and by the way, the sides of this phone I didn't even mention are pressure sensitive. So this is another one of those squeezable phones like the HTC U11 and the Pixel 2. This is another one. So naturally there's all these different mappable shortcuts for a short squeeze versus a long squeeze. There's actually pressure sensitivity all the way up one side, which allows for what I think is maybe the smartest unique feature of this phone, which is called air triggers. It creates basically 2 more virtual buttons on the side of the phone, but of course when you're gaming in landscape, they can be used and mapped to actual touch points on the screen, and they can be different for every game. So if you play a game where the gas pedal's on one side of the screen and the brake is on the other, for example, or maybe some shooting game where the reload button's on one side and the trigger's on the other, no matter what it is, you can map the air triggers to those exact points in the game, and then play the game without blocking your screen with your fingers. So you use the top buttons to control the game without ever blocking the display. It's really interesting. I'm a fan of this air triggers idea, and of course it's great for gaming. And this is also inside a feature called Game Genie that's available anytime a game is open, that lets you trigger screen recording, map air triggers, live stream to YouTube or Twitch, free up RAM in the background to speed up a game that you're in, and much, much more. It's a well thought out like gaming hub. And then on top of all of that is this feature where you can squeeze the phone for a long time to enter this gaming mode that's called X mode. I don't know why everything has to have some crazy name in the gaming world, but it does. So X mode clocks up the CPU a bit, it frees up some RAM from the background apps that don't need to be running, turns on the HDR effect on the 90 Hz display, mutes any incoming notifications, and lights up the logo on the back of the phone, because it's getting serious out here and you can't game if the light's not on. RGB for life. These lights you can even sync to other ASUS accessories with Aura lighting, so you can have it pulsing, rotating between colors, whatever you want. This is clearly the ultimate over-the-top gamer's dream feature. So clearly, there's a lot going on with this phone, both visually and functionally, and on the outside and the inside. I haven't even talked about the cameras on this phone. It is rocking dual cameras, and it's worth noting they are planning a regular camera and a wide-angle camera, which is pretty cool. Not a lot of people are doing that. But they told me to completely ignore these cameras because they are planning different modules and sensors and things for the final release versions. So just hoping that's good. Then again, who really cares much about the cameras on a gaming phone anyway? You probably care more about the front-facing camera, considering this is a phone that can stream to Twitch while gaming at the same time. But then on top of all of that, I didn't even mention the small ecosystem of accessories that are going to be available that plug into that dual USB-C port on the bottom, including this small fan that comes in the box, that literally comes with the phone. It's an attachable clamp that has its own glowing logo that you plug in and hook on, and it keeps the CPU extra cool while playing those games with a built-in fan that you can control the fan speed of in the app. I mean, it's ridiculous. So what do you think of this whole gaming phone thing? I'm actually kind of really into the idea. I don't know if you'd pick this one up. As of right now, there is no price or release date. I haven't been told any of that, but if I do, I'll let you know. I'll update the description or tweet it out. But the whole specialization of smartphones to be really good at one task. Maybe it's gaming. Maybe we'll see a photography phone. Maybe we'd see some sort of social network phone. I don't know. There's other kind of ideas that float through my head when I see something like this. But that's the ROG phone. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.